Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping in. Glad to see you here. Today we're going to be doing the Agile machine on HackTheBox. Just retired yesterday, and yeah, we're going to show you how to hack it. If you're interested in HackTheBox, check out the channel description. I have affiliate links for HackTheBox and HackTheBox Academy. If you sign up for HackTheBox or HackTheBox Academy, it's a great platform for building your cybersecurity skills that employers are looking for. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. Let's not waste time here and do a machine overview. So what this means is this is like a high-level overview of what we're going to be doing to compromise the machine. So for initial access, there's going to be a password manager that has a directory traversal vulnerability, and that's going to give us critical information that we're going to be using to do a pin exploit on the Flash debug console. Once we use that pin Flash debug console exploit, we're going to be able to get a Python shell that we're going to be able to use to do a reverse shell, and that's how we're going to get our initial access. And once we're on the machine, we're going to get user credentials on a MySQL database, and then once we're on the MySQL database, we're going to be able to see even more plain text user credentials, and we can use those credentials to SSH into the machine and get our user flag. And once we have our user flag, we're gonna find that the machine is actually running a dev version of the same password manager app internally on the internal network for the machine. And once we pivot into there, we're gonna make a tunnel. We're gonna pivot into there, and once we're in there, we're gonna be able to see even more plain text user credentials for another user. And once we have control of that user, we can escalate our privileges to root by a sudo edit privilege escalation vulnerability via sudo version 1.99 aka CVE-2023-22809. Also, Tool, thanks for stopping in, man. Thanks for being here as soon as I go live. Really do appreciate that. Hopefully you're doing all right, man. How you doing? And then for remediation defenses, we're going to be getting into that after we are done with the machine. So let's go ahead and compromise the machine, and then we'll do the remediation defenses once we're done. Let's go minimize that. And so with any HackTheBox machine, we want to do an nmap port scan. So that's nmap -p-.
Hacker man, he's the most powerful hacker of all time.
Follow me.
Beatrice 99, thanks for the follow. Thank you so much. How you doing today? Thanks for stopping in. Nice to meet you, streamer. Your video actually played quite well, and your content's very interesting. However, I noted that your channel setup may use some important improvement, and that might be result in poor performance. I admire your efforts in creating a fantastic community on Twitch, but please invite me to Discord so I can communicate you effectively. My user ID is GameChanger7. Yeah, I can get with you after the stream and we can talk about it. I appreciate you stopping in, and I appreciate you your willingness to improve the stream. So we can get together after the stream. Once again, welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping in, and thanks for following. Anyways, back to what I was doing. So we were doing an nmap scan. So nmap, we're gonna do this. So you do a sudo if you're not already root. So sudo nmap -p-. -p is all ports. That's all 65,535 ports. And then if you do a dash lowercase s, capital S, that's a SYN scan, also known as a stealth scan. It's a little bit faster than a full connect scan. So when I do a full port scan with all ports, I usually do -ss. And then it's capital T4 to bump up the speed. By default, it's -T3. And then the IP address of the target. So if we go to our HackTheBox dashboard, click to copy the IP address, paste it in there. So you would run this command right here, and this would scan all 65,535 ports on Agile. We're not going to be doing that because to scan all the ports, it does take a little bit of time. So in the interest of time and to speed things up, I already have done it, and I have them saved to a file called ports.txt. So we can do ports.txt, and the ports that are open, there's only two. It's port 22 and port 80. So let's go ahead and see what's on port 80 here. Actually, before we do that, you need to do this. So you need to have this entry in your Etsy host file. So if we get rid of this right here, and permission not, because we're not running as root. Let's do sudo nano Etsy host. Type in your password. Type in your password correctly. Get rid of this line here. So if we just type in so we open up a new tab in our web browser, and actually I'm going to do this in Firefox. And we navigate to the IP address by just pasting it here and hit enter. You'll get server not found, have trouble finding that site, but we get redirected to superpass.htb. And you can see here we connect into the server at superpass.htb. This isn't a problem because, like I said, if you just navigate here, you're going to get this issue. So you have to put superpass.htb into your Etsy host. So to do that, once again, that's sudo nano /Etsy hosts, like that. Hit enter, and then make a new line, and then you're gonna paste superpass.htb, and then you're going to also put the IP address. And obviously the IP address will be different for you if you're following along with this walkthrough, but that's the entry you need here. So IP address and then superpass.htb. Do Control X, Y, enter to save, and we can do cat/Etsy hosts. And this is the entry you need right here to make this work. So once we have that in our Etsy host, we can go back to our browser and refresh or hit enter again, and then this time it will actually work. So this takes us to a password manager app called SuperPassword, and it tells you how it works and all that, but we're not really interested in that because we can log in and we can register, and you can make a username and password. And one thing I did find out with this app is if you just do like a bad password, like such as password, so if I do password and hit enter, you always get this operational error. So you want to do like a semi-secure password. So I'm just going to do password 123 for this to make my account, and then hit register. I don't want to save that. And then once you register and you have an account, you'll get into your vault. As you can see up here, it says it redirects you to /vault, and right here we can add passwords to our password manager, and it works exactly how any password manager would function. You'd put your username, and then you could put like a site here. For example, we'll do kyserclerk.com, and then the password's auto-generated, but we can also just do whatever we want. This doesn't matter. None of this matters for what we're doing, but it works like a traditional password manager. And then you can hit the floppy disk icon here to save. And then once you do that and you hit export, you can actually export the file to, it would auto download. And if you click it, will pull up a CSV file that's with your information in it. And that's intended. This is all intended. This is how it's supposed to run. But how can we use this information to understand the application more? And to do that, we can do this. So we're going to do, you can use a web proxy. Any web proxy will work. I recommend using Burp, and I'm going to use Zap here because my Burp is currently broken at the moment, so I'm going to use Zap. They both work exactly the same. Well, not exactly the same, but they both work very well. And then, so we got that. Also, if you don't know how to set up Foxy Proxy, because Foxy Proxy isn't in Kali by default, there's tutorials online, but basically you install Foxy Proxy and then you would put your proxies. As you see, I got Zap, Burp, and Socks, and I use these three only. I haven't really messed with anything else, but Foxy Proxy is a great app for proxies for Firefox. So once we select Zap as my proxy, and like I said, I've already pre-configured this, and if you're interested in learning how to configure Zap proxies and proxies, there's tutorials on the internet that can teach you how to do that. But once you have that set up, you can do, let's go ahead and clear terminal. We're going to load up Zap by doing Zap proxy and hit enter. So now Zap proxy is going to load up here. And like I said, I typically prefer Burp Suite over OWASP Zap, just because I feel like Burp Suite's more of an industry standard. But OWASP Zap is actually free, and Burp Suite does have a free version, but the paid version is quite expensive. And OWASP Zap actually can do things just as good or even better than Burp Suite. So, for example, OWASP Zap can brute force much faster than a free version of Burp Suite. So typically I use OWASP Zap for like dictionary attacks on web servers, just because it doesn't throttle at all. So there's pros and cons of both OWASP Zap and Burp Suite. I highly recommend that you be familiar with both, because both of them are super useful in web application testing. So once we're loaded up here, we can see that this is loaded up. And we can do, let's go back to Firefox, and let's go ahead and hit export again, now that we know that the Zap is running. So hit export, and unless you add OWASP Zap to your certificates on Firefox, you're going to get this error. Not a big deal. We can just hit advance and then hit accept the risk and continue. And basically, because OWASP Zap has its own certificate, and that certificate isn't built into Firefox, so that's why you will get that error every single time. Burp Suite does the same exact thing, and there is ways to manually add your certificate to Burp Suite so you don't get that error every single time. I just haven't done it with Zap yet, but yeah, just accept the risk and continue. I don't recommend doing that with everything. Only do that with applications that you really trust, and I do trust Zap because I installed it myself and set it myself, so we're all good in that aspect. But yeah, just don't accept the risks and continue anyways all willy-nilly unless you know what you're doing. But in the case of OWASP Zap, we're okay there. Anyways, once we get there, we're going to get this operational error, and this is actually very common with this application. This isn't by design. This is just a bug in the web app, and to get around this, it's just load the page again. So we'll just click here and hit enter again, and then it will work. Like I said, this is quite a common error with this. It happens every so often, and if you get operational error, just push enter again and refresh the page, and it will work the second time. And then once we do that, we actually get the file again. So this is the same exact file. Actually, rewind. I didn't want to download the file again. I don't know. My bad. My apologies. Okay. Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm on the right track. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, so let's look at our entries for our WhatsApp, and if we look here, we have. So this is where we went to Vault Export. Remember, so we went here, and that's what this is. How you would download your CSV file with all your passwords in it, and go back to WhatsApp, and we can see that entry right here. And if we pull this over here, we can see we got code 302. 302 is the status code, the HTTP code for redirects, and then the very next entry is where we got redirected to. So we actually got redirected here. So it's the same thing, except it's instead of /vault/export, it's /download $FN equals and then the name of the file. So if we double click this and this, so this is the request that we made actually. So we can copy this and we can paste this here, and we can actually so this is where the file directory traversal comes into play. Because if we get rid of this and we can do we do // and then we do etc password and hit enter, we'll actually be able to download the etc password file. And once again, we got this error again. If that happens, just hit enter again, and then it will download. So if we click here, we can view the file, and right there is the Etsy password file. Awesome. So we can pretty much view, not pretty much, but we can view every single file that the user, whatever user is running this web app, we can see every single file that they can see. So for example, if we wanted to see like Etsy hosts, we hit enter on that. Another download pops up. As you can see, I've done this multiple times. Click on this, and that is the Etsy host file of our target. And we can see here we have a test.superpass.htb, and that's the test dev environment that's running internally on the system. This is going to come into play later, but interesting to note. Etsy host is always a really nice file to check out because you can see like what's running internally on the system. Okay, so when you have this error and you're looking through this, you can actually, if you move your mouse, you can actually see this terminal on the right hand side over here. See right here. It's not letting me click it. Let's try this. So we can induce an error by doing equals dot. If we hit enter on this, we're going to get is a directory error. And there's actually a lot of information that we want here. But let's see if we can click on this terminal. Yeah, so we can click on it now. So this little button here, this little terminal icon, it basically opens up the debugger console. But as you can see, console's locked. The console's locked. It needs to be unlocked by entering the PIN. We need to figure out how to get this PIN. How do we do that? So there is a nice guide on HackTrick's website. Let me grab the link here. We're going to open this up on Chrome just because I like Chrome more. So this is the URL, https book.hacktricks.xyz, and then network services, pen testing web, and then I don't know how to say this word. I am sorry, I don't know how to say it. Words are hit enter on this, and this is what we're looking at. And if you scroll down, so here's the interactive console. This is what we was looking at before, and then this is the pin protected path traversal. And this tells you how to get the pin out of this debugger here. There's a script down here, so towards the bottom, we can see the script here. So we're going to actually copy this script. So right-click, copy. Go back to our terminal. We can actually close out of WhatsApp. Close, clear this, and then now we're going to do a. We're going to do remove. Pin.py, because this is my old version of pin.py. We're going to make a new one, so it's going to clear, and then we'll do nano pin.py and blank file, and then we're going to paste that script that was on HackTrick's. And if we scroll all the way up, we can see how it works, but we need to fill in some information manually here with new information. So we need to get a username. Flask app, this can change. Sorry, this can stay the same. So this stays the same right here. Flask, we need to change this. We also need to change this. And we need to change these private bits. This and this. It's okay that you don't know what this is right now. We're going to take this one step at a time. So the first thing we need to find is the username. And the best way to find the username is by going back to our browser that we logged in with the super password with. So whatever browser you use to log in with super password with, we're just going to take advantage of that file traversal, the directory traversal vulnerability. And let me grab the URL here. Copy, paste, and so it is. So as you can see here, it's the same thing. superpass.http/download !fn equals, and then // and then proc/self/environ. So we hit enter on this. You can also do this in OWASP app in Burp Hey, this isn't working because I closed out a zap, so let's go ahead and turn off our proxy here and then run that again. Hit enter on that. Let's try this again. Enter. There we go. So it downloaded a new file. Once again, the location's right here. Click on this, and if you try to open this up with a mousepad, you're going to get this document's not UTF-8 valid. That's okay. Just hit this bubble here and default, and then it's going to load up. Let's go full screen on this. And the information we need is right here. So we have login name equals, and then www data. And that is the user that we need for this. We're going to copy that on our clipboard. You can also say user equals www data. So www data is the user that we need. So we go back to our script here in our terminal. And we're going to paste our user right here. So www data there. And once again, flask.app, this stays the same here. We don't need to modify this at all. And then Flask, this needs a change. What do we need to change it to? So the best way to get it is go back to, remember that error? Right here. So we can actually close out of this. Actually, let's not close out of the bin. We'll just duplicate it, and we'll go here. So once again, that's the same thing that we zoomed for. superpass.http/download $FN equals dot. And this is where the error is. Unable to connect. Let's try that again. Why is that broken? Let's try it over. I'm not sure why that's broken. Let's just... I think I have some kind of connection error. I think my... Let's refresh this. Is this broken? Oh, this is still working. Well, let's try this in here. superpass.http/download $FN equals dot. I wonder why that's not working. Huh. Let's try this in Chrome. I think my Firefox is actually broken. So we want to go to, let's grab our IP address again. Oh. Firefox on Kali Linux for me, I don't know, it's very unreliable. That's why I don't use it when I don't have to. So we're on SuperPass. Let's go ahead and log in. Remember, we already made a login for this, so. And then password. Password 123, and then we will log in. Login failed. Let's just register another account then. I think there's a cleanup script that cleans out the usernames that you create, so after a while your user will get deleted. Let's do... Okay, I didn't. So let's try... Why did it not let me log in? I don't know why it's not letting me log in. Let's try to make a new user. Let's do Kyser and then password 123 and then hit register. Alright, so we're back here. So we should be able to hit export. No passwords. That's fine. Let's try to do this again. No, that's not what I wanted. We want this. Why is that not working all of a sudden? I'm very confused. Alright, well, let's figure out why this isn't working. This machine is probably one of the most unstable machines I've seen on HackTheBox, to be honest with you. Yeah, unable to connect. Let's go back. Set a password. Make a password. So we can export here. Say that works. But for some reason, there we go. I don't know what I was doing wrong. I must have been doing something wrong. Anyways, so let's rewind. So we had to do some troubleshooting. So let's explain what we were doing, because we got off track quite a bit there. So this is the file that we have to run to get the pin for the debugger. We already filled in www.data, and we don't need to change this. And remember, this said flash down here. The information we need is right here. So we need wsgi.app. And once again, we got this from this location right here. We'll paste that there. And then this also needs a change. So we'll come down here and we'll just delete all of this. And then we will, so what we need is this right here. Copy. And then hit paste into here. So paste /app/venv/lib/python3.10/site-packages/flask/app.py. That's what needs to go right here. And then next we need the private bits. So the private bits, this right here, this is actually a MAC address that's in integer format. So we need to get the MAC address. And the way you can find that out, well, if you just go back to the Hactrix's guide here, scroll up, we see private bits, and the uuid.getNode is the MAC address of the current computer. And if we do right here, this tells you how to get the MAC address. So if we copy this and then go back to our web browser, I'm actually going to, so .. So it's the file traversal again, and then it's we don't need this extra slash here. We would just paste this here, but we need to fill in this device ID. So device ID is the interface of the device. So typically on Linux, the primary device is ETH0. Other systems might be using ETH1, 2, or 3, or maybe even a different name altogether, but in this instance, ETH0 is the one that we're looking for. So if we hit enter on this, operational error, that's okay. This is common with this. This machine is quite buggy. So if you get that, once again, just try it again. Hit enter again, and you can see down here we got the file that downloaded. Click this to load it up, and here is our MAC address of the computer, and we can close out of that now. So remember I said it was an integer format. So if we go back to our script, this doesn't look like a MAC address at all. So we need to convert this to an integer. To do that, you can use Python to do it. I found this way to be really easy. So if we do convert MAC address to integer, if we just Google this, hit enter on that, you can see this Volter.com MAC address converter. Click on that, and then on the MAC address converter, just paste the MAC address, hit convert MAC address, and then you can see integer here, and we can just click to copy to our clipboard, go back to our script, and then we can delete the entry that is in the script by default, and then paste in our entry. So this is the exact number that you need right here. You might have a different MAC address. It might, I don't know if it changes when the machine spins up or not, but it could be the same as well. I'm not entirely sure if it changes or not, but regardless, you can get it by doing this location here. Alright, so that leaves us with one last thing to change, which is this. So the machine ID. If we go back to that Hactrix guide, we can see So get machine ID concatenates the values in etc machine ID with the first line of /proc/self/c group. So get the machine ID. So they're giving us the location here. So we can just copy this on our clipboard, go back to our internet browser, and get rid of this. Paste this. Once again, we don't need this extra slash. So that's etc/machine-id. Hit enter on that. And we got an operational error. Not a big deal. Just try it again. And then we get a file down here. So click this to load it up. And right here is our machine ID. So we can right click, copy that. And go back to our script. So we would delete all of this. And then we also need the second part of it. So we'll go back to the hat tricks guide. And we can see, so it concatenates it with the first line of proc self C group. So we'll copy this, go back to our browser, and we will replace that with this. So /proc/self/C group. Push enter on that, and we'll get another file to download. Hit this, and as you can see, we got this. And then remember, if we go back to the guide here, with the first line of the file after the last slash. So go back to we go back to what we were seeing. So after the last slash, which is here's the last slash. So everything after that is what we need. So superpass.service, copy this, and then go back. We can close out of this now. Go back to our script and delete this. Oh, I'm sorry. That is not what we did not want to delete that. So we'll go ahead and paste this. We got to get the machine ID. I did not mean to delete that. Let's get the machine ID again. Once again, that is right here. Copy. Go back to our internet browser. Here's the machine ID again. So the machine ID goes in front of superpass.service like this. So it goes machine ID, and then no spaces, no slashes, no hyphens, then superpass.service. And that's what you needed in this field. So once again, we changed this, the machine ID, we changed this, we changed this, we left this alone, this is the same, and then the user's data, which we also changed. And then once you have your pin.py file looking like this, you can Control X, Y, enter to save. And then to run it, we can do Python 3-m http. What am I doing? We're not doing a server. Python 3 pin.py. So this is how you would run that Python script. Hit enter, and it's going to give us a pin. Copy this. Go back to our debugger. So once again, we can, if you hover over these boxes all the way over here to the right, we see this little terminal symbol here. Click that, and it will ask us for a pin. Paste the pin, hit confirm pin, and it works. We can see console ready, and we have the Python. So these, this means we have an active Python prompt, so we can actually type in here and do stuff now. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a reverse shell. So let's go ahead and clear the terminal here. So we're going to start a netcat listener, netcat-lnvp443. You can listen on any port you want. I like to do 443. Hit enter. So we are listening here. And then for this, we want to put our reverse shell command, which I'm going to show you that now. So I'm going to paste this here. So here's the command: import OS, OS system, and then this is basically just doing a bash reverse shell. This is pretty standard command, and then import OS, OS system is basically allowing us to do system commands, and then the system command we're doing is this right here, which is a basic bash reverse shell. And then if you're running this command, make sure you change this right here. This is my IP address, so this would be totally different for you. And then if you're using a different port, that would go here. So like I said, I'm using 443. You can use whatever your port you want as long as it matches with the port that you decided to listen on here. So once we have this filled out, we just push enter and nothing happens. It looks like nothing happens, but a lot happened in the background. So this is quite normal. So once you hit enter, you want to go back to your listener and you can see we have initial access to the machine. Awesome. As always, when we get a shell, we want to stabilize it the best we can. So let me grab my commands here. So these are basic Python shell stabilization command. So hit enter on that, and then we will do this, paste that, and we'll do this command here, hit enter, and then we want to background the shell with control, hold control, push Z, and it'll put our initial shell into the background. And then to regain control of it, we can do this command here. Hit enter, and then we'll get this continued with our listener. Hit enter again, and we have a more stable shell that we can use to, for example, we can use a clear command now. We can do tab autocomplete, and that's why you do those commands. It's because it just makes a shell more stable, more usable, more user-friendly. In some cases, you have to do that before you can do certain commands in some situations. Alright, so now that we have initial access, our primary goal is to figure out how to compromise the user on this account, because if you go to the user, Dodo data does not have the user flag and doesn't have the rights to view it either. So we got to figure out how to get control of a user to get the user flag. And it's actually quite simple. So we do change directory, we go back one directory, and we do ls here. So in the /app directory, there's this file here, config prod JSON. So let's just do a cat config prod.json, push enter on that, and then as you can see here, we have a MySQL username and password. So right here is the username, superpass user, and this is the password. This is amazing because now we can log into the MySQL database and we can see what's there. Hit enter a few times, and to log in with MySQL, it's very simple. It's MySQL, so MySQL, and then -u for username, and once again the username is right here. So we'll copy this, and then we will paste it here, and then we want to do -p for password, but we're not going to specify the password, just to push enter, and then it's going to ask us for the password. When I did -p and then the password, for some reason it didn't work, but when I did -p no password, it'll ask me for a password, and this I found to be more stable. So copy this, and then we'll just paste that password here. And then with passwords on Linux, if you're not familiar, they don't show up for security reasons. And hit enter, and we logged into the MySQL database. So when we're in the MySQL database, we can do show databases, and then semicolon, hit enter, and this is all the databases that are in this MySQL app. And we can use, so we can see Superpass. So this is super interesting because the name of the app we're dealing with is Superpass. So this would naturally be the first place you'd want to check. And to use it, we would just do use Superpass, and then semicolon, hit enter, and you'll see database changed. And now to list the tables in this database, it's show tables. So show tables, and then semicolon. Hit enter on this, and we can see the tables. We have password tables and we have a users table. Obviously this is super good because we got usernames and passwords here, so let's check it out. So to check it out in SQL, the command to view a table, or to view everything in the table, is select everything. So that's asterisk. So asterisk or star means everything. from, and then passwords, and then semicolon. So once again, select, star means everything, from passwords. And this is just going to dump the whole entire passwords table. Push enter on this, and here's the whole passwords table. And if we look real closely, we can see we have Agile, we have a username Quorum, and then we have this password here. This is great because now we can try to use this to log in. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to log in. Let me zoom back in here. So we can log in with SSH. So SSH.
Hacker Man. He's the most powerful hacker of all time.
Follow me.
Bat Jeff, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for stopping in. How you doing today? This stuff is legit so interesting. I'm glad you find it interesting. It is fun. Hacking is quite the topic to learn about, and I'm glad you're here to hang out with me. So, welcome to the stream, Bat. Should I call you Bat or Jeff? It's Bat Jeff. Anyways, so once we have this username and password, we can log in with SSH. So as I was doing, it was SSH, and then the username, Quorum, we got that from right here under the username. And then it's at, and then IP address. So this is a standard SSH. This is a standard way to log in with SSH. So IP address, and then we would push enter on this. And then if it's the first time you're connecting to it, it'll say, are you sure you want to continue connecting? Yes, no, fingerprint. And you would just type in yes here to accept the fingerprint. If I can type right. Yes. And then it'll ask us for the password, so we can just copy this. Copy selection, and then paste clipboard. And once again, for security reasons, it doesn't show the password when you type it, but hit enter. And we have Quorum at Agile. So we can clear out terminal, clear out all this nonsense, and then we can actually exit out. So we don't need our initial shell anymore. So we can exit out of the MySQL database. We can exit out of our initial shell, exit again, and then exit again to exit the split, because we're only interested in the Quorum shell. So this is the user that we need for the user.txt files. So we start out in the home directory. When you log in with SSH, you typically find yourself in the user's home directory. You can do ls to list the directory contents. We see user.txt. So we do cat user.txt, and this is the user flag for Agile. And it changes every single time. So if you're following along, you'll definitely have a different one. But you would copy this and then put it in the HackTheBox dashboard, and that's how you would capture the user flag. So great, now we have the user flag. We're kind of halfway there, right? We only need the root flag now, and we just got to figure out how to escalate our privileges. To do that, it can be tricky. So enumeration, that means search for information. If we enumerate, we can find there's ports listening. So remember, we looked at the Etsy host file and we saw that test HackTheBox app running on the local host. So if we do netstat -a, this is going to list all active connections, whether it's listening or connected. Hit enter, and this is a good way to see, like, what kind of apps are running on the system. One in particular that is very interesting is where's it at? This one right here. We have 41829. So this is a port that's right here as well. So this is a port that's listening. This is going to get us, this is where the dev app is running. And as you can see, there's all kinds of information here, because there's all kinds of connections. But like I said, that one we're interested in is right here. Where'd it go? Right here. You're probably wondering, like, hey, how do I know which one to check out first? And honestly, it's a trial and error process, but we can get more information. Let's go ahead and clear this out. I've been self-teaching this stuff recently. Really cool to see someone streaming it. Definitely cool to see someone who knows what they're doing. Haha. I like to think I know what I'm doing. But yeah, thanks for stopping in, man. Where was I at? Oh yeah, we wanted to grab, let me go to my notes here. And so the file that's can give us a little more information on this is located in the app directory. So if we do change directory / app, we do ls illicit contents here, we can go into app testing. So this is like all the testing stuff that's going on with this app. So change directory app - testing, and then ls illicit contents, and in the test directory, so change directory tests, do ls illicit contents again. We got functional, so change directory into the functional directory, and then ls again. We can see creds.txt looks very interesting, but we can't read it, so we do cat creds.txt, permission denied. So we can also check this here, and this is exactly where we're going to get more information on this this test app at. So if we do nano, because if we do a cat and then if we cat it out, it's not going to give us syntax highlighting. So anytime you have like a script or like a Python file or a bash script or any script in general, it's nice to get the syntax highlighting, and you can do that with nano. You can use Vim too, but I'm team nano, so T should run if you choose Vim over nano. But nano test site interactively.py, so this is the file that is interesting to us. Hit enter on this, and as you can see, Vim all the way. What up, Clark fan 42? Love you, Clark. Thanks for stopping in, man. Glad to see you here. Vim all the way. Dude, I hate Vim, man. I know how to use it, so knowing how to use Vim is actually more important than knowing how to use nano, because I find that Vim is pretty much standard on Linux, whereas nano it's pretty much becoming a standard, but there are some boxes that I found myself on that doesn't have nano. So if you run into that, you have to use Vim. So if you're a nano user, you still have to use Vim. So I mean, that makes Vim the king, but I still doesn't mean I have to like it. So, but Vim is truly the way to go. But I struggle with using it. I find it nano's more intuitive. Speaking of Vim, by the way, the creator of Vim passed away just recently. So push F to pay your respects. I found that out like earlier today. Anyways, so once we're in this file, we can see right here, we see remote debugging port 41829. So we got the remote debugger test app running on this port here on Agile. And we can also see this Selenium here, and that means like basically that's like dev testing. So now that we know that we have like a test environment running on this port here, we can actually close out of this file. We don't need to modify, we just only needed to see it. And we need to set up a tunnel. And you can use SSH tunnels, and honestly that's probably a little more intuitive, but I like to use Chisel. Chisel's my go-to with tunneling, because with SSH tunneling, to do SSH tunneling, you have to have SSH enabled on the machine. Obviously SSH is enabled on this machine, but it's not enabled on every machine, so that's why I always default to Chisel. If you are unfamiliar with Chisel and how to install it, I recommend just going to the Chisel GitHub. So if you just Google Chisel GitHub, it's like the first result. Click that, and everything you need to know about Chisel's there. Like I said, Chisel's my go-to, and I always prefer over to SSH tunneling and pivoting, just because I find it a little easier to use, and it works in every single instance. Like it has never not worked for me. So whereas SSH tunneling only works if you have SSH enabled. So like I said, not every machine has SSH enabled, so that's why I like to use Chisel every single time. Let's go ahead and clear this out, and we're going to do change directory into the temp directory, and we're going to split our terminal here, and we're going to transfer Chisel onto Agile. To do this, you have to first download Chisel onto your Linux machine from the Chisel GitHub, but for me it's located in, so if we change directory, it's in my downloads directory, and then so it's in my downloads directory, and to host all the files in my downloads directory, it's python 3-m http.server 80, and this is basically just starting a HTTP server on port 80, and it's hosting every single file in my downloads directory. and to download it from my Kali Linux system to Agile, you want to do this in a temp directory or make your own directory. Pretty much anywhere you can write, you can do that, but temp directory you can typically write on. So we would do wget and then the location of the file. So in this case, it's http:// and then my IP address is 10.10.16.11, and then the name of the file is chisel. And if we hit enter on this, it's going to download it. But before we do that, I actually want to open up another terminal. I'm going to split this one. And the reason why is because you have to be really fast with this, because this temp directory cleans itself up after a while. So basically when you download this, it will get deleted after like a minute. So you have to be kind of fast with this, setting up this tunnel. So before we download this, we want to set up our chisel server. To do that, this is the command here. So in another terminal, we want to do chisel server --reverse. --reverse basically means we're waiting for incoming connections. -p stands for port, and then I'm going to listen on port 9001 because it's over 9000. Why wouldn't you use 9001? But you can use whatever port you want. Like I said, I like to use 9001. And hit enter on this, and this means that, so we have reverse tunneling enabled, and we are listening on my host on 9001. And that means we have the servers configured correctly. So now that we have our server listening and waiting for a connection, let's go ahead and transfer the file. So remember, you have to keep your HTTP server running, and then once you have it hosted, we can do this wget command up here. Push enter on this, and you can see down here on our HTTP server logs, we got status 200, means it connected, and this actually downloaded really fast. The last couple times I did this, it took a lot longer, but we can do ls, and you can see chisels here. Like I said, you gotta be fast after this. So we want to do smod plus x. This is basically making the chisel executable. That's what the x means. So smod plus x chisel, and then after that we want to run this command here. And once you run this command here, you'll see connected here, and then you'll see here. So we got session 1 tunnel proxy, and then we connected these ports together and listening. So that means we have an active connection. So let me walk you through like what this means, because like I said, I had to be fast. Once you have the tunnel connected, it won't clean it up because it's currently being used, so it won't delete it once it's connected. But if you're slow here, chisel can get deleted out of your temp directory. So to run it, it says /chisel, and then you're running it as a client, and then this right here is your IP address, so the server IP address, and then colon, and then whatever port your server is listening on. Remember, I specified 9001 down here, so that's why this says 9001 here. R colon, and then the ports you want to connect to each other. In this case, it's 41.829, and right there it is again. But right here is the IP address of the local host of Agile, so you just do 127.0.0.1. And once you have this tunnel connected and set up, we can just rename this to chisel, because we have to leave this open while we access the internal dev test web app. So we name this so we know what it is, and then we're just going to open up a new tab because we can't use that tab anymore. I guess we could keep splitting it, but it's already pretty busy, so we'll just leave that alone. So now with that tunnel set up, we can actually connect to the internal dev test web app. To do that, typically you would do this. You would do like localhost and then the port. And that's typically how you would access internal web services on a target machine. However, it doesn't work in this instance. You just get this white screen, which this took me a minute to figure out, but basically we want to access it from the dev client on Chrome. So you have to use Chrome for this. I think there might be a way to do this on Firefox, but to my knowledge you need to use Chromium. So it's just Chrome //inspect, and once we're here we can hit configure, and we're just going to do localhost colon, and then what was that port number again? Port number is 41829. So you would put this in the configure tab, hit done, and then sometimes it takes a little bit of time for this to populate down here. Just be patient. But once it populates, you'll see super password, and you'll see http://test.superpass.htb. And if we hit inspect on this, we can actually view what's currently being ran on the Agile machine from the internal of it. You can see here, so this is, you know, exactly what we saw before, but this is the test version of super password. This isn't the production version of it. And if we just do /vault up here, so test.superpass.htb/vault, hit enter on this. If you get an internal server error, that's actually common with this. Just hit enter again. And as you can see here, we have Agile username Edwards right here, and we have a password here. And I just wrote this down by hand. There's no way we can copy and paste this, unfortunately. Well, I think if you come in here and you look at like all this in here, there's a way to find it, but honestly I think it's just faster just to zoom in on this and write down the password. And that's exactly what I did. So if we go, so we have a username and password for Edward, so let's go ahead and try to SSH into that. Spoiler alert, it's gonna work. SSH Edwards at, and then grab our IP address. We can close out of this now, we're done with this. Oh, I didn't mean to close my Chrome. Oh, there it is. We can close out of this. We're done with this. We're done with this tab. So back to our HackTheBox dashboard, we grab our IP address. Once again, it's SSH Edwards at, and then IP address of the target. Hit enter. And then it's going to ask us for the password. And once again, that password I just hand typed into my notes from that inspect. And then I just pasted it in here. Once again, it doesn't show up because for security reasons, Linux leaves it blank. And look, we logged in as Edwards on Agile, so we can do clear. And now we have escalated our privileges from Quorum to Edwards. And so now we have to figure out how to escalate our privileges to root. Always easier said than done, because finding out how to escalate your privileges can take a long time. But for this machine, one of the first things you like to do when define privilege escalation vectors is just see what we can run as sudo. So we can do like sudo-l. And this is, we got to do our password again, so paste clipboard. So this is typically something you want to run, and this will tell you everything that you can run as sudo. But in this case, so it says user Edwards may run the following commands on Agile. So we got sudo edit, and then this file, we have sudo edit, and then this file, and then we can run it as dev admin. So dev admin is obviously an admin, so that is some extra privileges that we might be able to exploit. Let's go ahead and do sudo -V. And sudo version 1.99. So if we actually copy this whole line right here, oh, we want the whole line. Copy selection, go to Chrome and paste this in here. So sudo version 1.99 is vulnerable to is really vulnerable. Watch. So we have there's multiple sources here, but the one I really liked was if we scroll down. It is the Synactive right here. So like I said, this is the one that I felt was a really good comprehensive write-up. So from Synactive, so sudo edit bypass in sudo version 1.9.10 or 12 or less, also known as CVE 2023-22809. So like I said, this is a really good write-up that explains the vulnerability. So you can see here, sudo allows the system administrator to delegate authority to give certain users ability to run some or all commands as root or another user, and that's the gist of it. And there's way more information here, like a technical description. It tells you exactly what's happening. but we're going to summarize it here. If you're interested in reading this, I highly recommend it if you want to know more about this vulnerability. But essentially what's happening here, what we're going to be exploiting is with this version of sudo, when there's sudo edit, when we have permissions to sudo edit any file, so as you can see we have 2 files that we can sudo edit, but as long as we have 1 file that we can sudo edit, we can actually sudo edit every single file on the machine as dev admin. So it's not root, but it's dev admin. And dev admin has the ability to modify a file. Let me show you where it is here. We're gonna get on my notes. Well, let's run this command here. So this command right here is basically finding every file that dev admin can write to. So we define, this is actually the group dev admin. You can also do this for user, but this is not revealed by doing the -user. If you do -group dev admin, if you run this command, and these are all files that we can write to. And the file that we are going to be changing is this right here. And you can do this trial and error by looking at all these files. But if we, so remember that app directory. So we always come back to the /app, and there's always really good information in here. And this is the script that we want to pay attention to right here. So if we do nano test, so if you look at this, basically this, so test and update, this bash script here essentially runs every so often to set up the virtual environment. And you can see it calls this file here. And as you remember, as from the source I just showed you, we can modify this. Or not we, Edwards cannot modify this, but dev admin can modify it. But since we can sudo edit as dev admin, we can also do it with Edwards with this vulnerability. And like I said, I highly recommend going through this if you want to know like the ins and outs of how this is working. But I'm just going to summarize it here. So the command that we're interested in is this. I'll grab out on my notes here. I already have it prepared. So we're going to run this. So editor equals, and like I said, I'm Team Nano. You can use Vim here. Actually, matter of fact, every write-up does use Vim, but Nano does work if you are like me and prefer Nano over Vim. Either works. And then we're doing the -- space, and then this right here is the file that we want to change. And then we're going to use the sudo edit command -u for user, and then remember we can sudo edit as dev admin, so that's why dev admin's here. And then any file that dev admin can write to. So that we could put this file here or this file here. As you can see, we got the creds.txt. Either one will work, and it doesn't matter which one you use. It just as long as you use one of these 2 files. And once again, we're editing this file here with the sudo edit vulnerability. So this is not by design. This is not intended. This is a vulnerable. This is vulnerable in sudo version 1.9.9. So if we hit enter on, so once again, this is a command you want to run. And if you're following along and you're watching this on my YouTube channel after the live stream, feel free to pause that and type it in. But hit enter on that, and this is going to let us modify the activate file. And as you can see, this is a bash script. So we can actually, so anything in this bash script that we put here, because this is running as root, anything that we put in here, bash wise, is going to get ran. So naturally, we want to just try to do a simple bash reverse shell. To do that, easy way to do it is go to revshells.com. So revshells.com, and what you would do is you would just put your IP address here, and then your port that you want to listen on right here. And then right here on the left is like all the different payloads, and as you click different payloads, you can see that the command's different every time. Not the commands, but the syntax that you want, so it goes right here. But we're only interested in, well, I don't want to say we're only interested, but this first one right here, -bash.i, very basic bash reverse shell. If we just copy this, you can actually come down here and click copy to your clipboard and paste this here. Once again, if you're following along, you do not want to use my IP address. This is my IP address, so change that to whatever yours is, and then if you're using a different port, you would change that here. And then, like I said, it should auto change. So if we change this to like, you know, 17.2, it will change the command for us. So that's why I really like rev shells, because it really eliminates a lot of the typos. So this is what we want. This right here is the reverse shell back to our machine. And if we just put that line in here and save it, we're going to get a reverse shell. Before we do that though, we need to set up our listener. So split terminal horizontally, zoom in here, and then zoom in here. Keep in mind, this is what's giving us access to this machine. So we'll do a netcat listener, so that's nc-lmvp443. Hit enter on that. Now we're listening on port 43. And then since we're in Nano, we'll do Control X, Y, enter to save, and it's going to pop up a second file here. I'm not actually sure what this file is, but it doesn't matter. Just hit Control X to exit out of this. And then remember that creds.txt that we specified? That's the creds.txt. And these creds are actually, I don't even know, these aren't even the AWS creds. So it's kind of weird how this is here, because these aren't the real creds. But once again, we don't need to modify this. We don't care about creds.txt. We were just using that to get to the activate file. So we can actually close out of this too. And like I said, this script runs automatically every minute or two. So if you save the activate file and wait a few minutes, you're going to catch a root shell here. So let's just wait. And eventually we're going to get, there it is. See right here? We do a who am I? ID root. So we have root access now. So now we can do cat/root/root.txt, and that is the root flag. And congratulations, we have pwned the machine, and we can do whatever we want on this machine. We have full access with the root account. And that's the end there. So let's go ahead and do a recap. Let's go ahead and minimize this. And let's pull this back full screen. So let's do a recap. So what we did was, to get initial access, we had a password manager, and we took advantage of directory traversal, and we used the directory traversal to read files, which gave us the information we needed for the pin exploit for the Flash debug console. And once we got the information for that script, we're in a script, it gave us a pin. We used that pin to get access to the debug console. When we had access to the debug console, we made a Python reverse shell, and that's how we got initial access. Once we had initial access, we found credentials for the MySQL database sitting in plain text. And then once we were in the MySQL database, we found even more credentials in plain text, and that's how we got the co-worm user password. And once we had that, we can SSH as the co-worm user. And once we were the co-worm user, we found out that there was a local dev version of the SuperPass app running. So we set up a tunnel, we accessed it on the development side, and then we could see more plaintext credentials for the Edward user. And we logged in with SSH as Edwards, and once we were Edwards, we saw that we can abuse sudo edit with the CVE-2023-22809, and we modified a file, put a reverse shell in that, and waited for that script to run, and we got our root shell that way. So how would we defend against this? If we was a cyber defender or a system administrator, how would we prevent this box from being compromised? So for the password manager, directory traversal. So for directory traversal, input sanitation is the #1 defense against directory traversal vulnerabilities, and that would stop us from getting information out of the machine. And then, but how would we stop the pin exploit? And there really isn't a way to stop it. The way to stop it is don't enable the debugger in production machines. And that sounds like a weird, like, oh, there's no fix for it. But let me pull up an additional resource here, and I'll show you what I mean. But basically, like, it's the developer debugger is vulnerable by design, because the developer is supposed to have full access to the system. So here's the URL that we're going to go to, and I just Google searched because I was trying to figure out how to fix this problem, and I ran across this. And this tells you about how the debugger works and the pin and all that. See debugger pin, and gives a little more information about how it works behind the scenes. But as you can see right here, it's in red and it's bold, but it says danger. The debugger allows, let me zoom in so you can see this better. Nice and big. Danger. The debugger allows the execution of arbitrary code, which makes it a major security risk. The debugger must never be used on production machines. We cannot stress this enough. Do not enable the debugger in production. So that's the solution, is don't enable the debugger in production. If you're using any debuggers, and this goes for any application, not just this one, don't enable debuggers in applications, because it allows arbitrary code to be ran and allows us to get access to the system. So always disable the debugger in production networks. So that's the fix for that. Let's go back to our slides, full screen. So plain text credentials, remember we found plain text credentials to get into MySQL database, and then we found even more plain text credentials within the MySQL database. To fix that, don't store plain text credentials, hash them, and then when you're hashing them, make sure they're strong passwords. So that's the fix for that. It's pretty simple. And then for the local dev version of the app, we found plain text credentials on the dev version of the app. To fix this, you gotta secure the dev version of the production app better. What that means is don't allow access to the system through, because Corum found that, and we tunneled in there with Corum, and there's really no way to stop the tunnel. But what you can do is remove the admin user credentials from the dev app. So we had that Edwards, who was basically a admin for this application. His real password was in the test version of this app. If you're testing a password manager app, I wouldn't recommend putting your real password in there as a test. Maybe do some dummy passwords. So that's how you would thwart that. Just don't put your credentials in a testing environment at all, and that would thwart that vulnerability. And then for the sudo edit privilege escalation, CVE 2023-22809, just update your sudo version. Just that version of sudo is the vulnerable version. So if you update your sudo version to a later version, preferably the most up-to-date version, then that problem is gone. And if you apply all these, you'll have a much more secure system, and it'll be quite hardened at that point. So, and that's pretty much it. So apply those, and it's going to make it harder to break in from an attacking perspective. All right, so like I said, that's pretty much the machine. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. If you're interested in HackTheBox, I highly recommend signing up. I do have affiliate links to HackTheBox in the channel description, so check those out. Those affiliate links take you to HackTheBox, the main app, and HackTheBox Academy. So if you're interested in building up your cybersecurity skills that employers are looking for, definitely sign up for HackTheBox. And if you do so through my affiliate links, it does support the channel, so would appreciate if you check that out. Bat Jeff, that's some solid information. Not only the demo itself, but also the info about how to prevent it and everything. Great stream. Thank you. Yeah, so I like to, you know, I'm an ethical hacker. I'm a penetration tester, and it's not. Our goal isn't to just break into stuff and say, "Hey, I broke into stuff." And really, my job as a penetration tester is to give you actionable steps to prevent the attacks that I use to break into the system. So. That's what penetration testing reports are for. So with my streams, I do like to show, like, hey, how do we prevent this? Because it really gives us a learning opportunity on how cyber defenders could apply real fix actions to stop attackers from breaking into the system. So I think it's important to go over, the defenses for things that I exploit, even on HackTheBox machines that aren't even real production machines at all. But it is nice to go over, like, how to prevent the vulnerabilities in the first place. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Hopefully you got some good information. If you are watching this on my YouTube channel after the non-live version, If you have any questions, just leave a comment in the description, or just hit me up on like LinkedIn or Twitter. Just if you have any questions, just hit me up and I can further explain things. But yeah, hopefully this is clear and comprehensive, and hopefully beginner friendly. If not, let me know and I can help you out. Until the next stream. So the next stream, I'm gonna try to be on time. It's gonna be tomorrow, not tomorrow. It'll be Saturday next week, and we'll be doing whatever machine retires most recently. I'm not sure what machine it is yet, but we'll do. So every week I'm doing the most recent version, the most recent retired HackTheBox machine. So like I said, Saturday nights is my target, and hopefully I see you in that stream. So till then, peace out, take care, have a good one. Kyser out.